Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I am Billy Embody coming at you from sunny Florida as the early signing period, day one, is complete for the Mustangs. And look, a surprise in a way for the Mustangs on the first day of their early signing period, and one new addition into the fold. We're going to talk about both of those players as SMU came into the day with the top-ranked recruiting class in the AAC. They're going to have to battle in the end to retake that spot. And I'll also share why that looks like a real possibility for Rhett Lashley and company, who really put together a nice high school class with very little drama throughout the cycle, and one that they should be very proud of in terms of hanging on to. So let's dive right in. The news of the day, quite honestly, came from the high school ranks, as well as one piece with the transfer portal targets for the Mustangs. We'll talk about that at the end because we'll kind of reset a little bit with what SMU needs to do down the stretch with the transfer portal. But the big news was DeSoto safety Jaden Milner-Jones, fresh off a state championship at AT&T Stadium, flipping his commitment from SMU to Colorado. He had been a long-time SMU pledge. And one thing we haven't really talked about too much on the pod in a way is Craig Niver leaving to take over as Coastal Carolina's defensive coordinator. He was the lone recruiter that was really on Jaden Milner-Jones hard, identified him in the spring. They got him on board shortly thereafter. And he had a really good season for the Eagles en route to that state championship. He played corner, he played safety, he played linebacker. He played all over. His clips that we posted on the site, quite honestly, just a little bit before, flipping to Colorado, really showed somebody that can do a little bit of it all. He flips to Colorado after Craig Niver leaves for Coastal Carolina, and did so on signing day with SMU balloons, with his mom in SMU gear. Him and his dad unveil the Colorado Buffaloes T-shirt that they had ready to go play for Deion Sanders. And look, I mean, I think it's a big loss in terms of what you're trying to build long term, especially since Adrian Wilson, the Keller Central safety, ends up going to Washington State. Two of those guys wore Craig Niver targets, and it's tough. Sometimes these players have to, make tough decisions and move on, especially when their position coach leaves right around signing day. So Jaden Milner-Jones had a spot at Colorado. He takes it. And now you kind of saw a flurry of transfer offers go out in the secondary, both at corner and at safety. And at corner, that's something I feel like we expected. They have a nice haul already, but they also want to address that position some more. And without Jaden Milner-Jones now in the mix, they've got to continue to bolster that safety room. He's somebody that was physically ready enough to play special teams, to jump right in, and just be able to contribute on that front. In terms of depth, we've seen some guys move on already. We expect more attrition in the transfer portal, some guys that maybe naturally move on. So safety is still a big position of need for SMU, and even more so now with Jaden Milner-Jones moving on. But look, the big splash of the day for SMU was Everman defensive lineman Kevin Allen committing and signing pretty quietly with SMU. I'd gotten a tip. I put in my on-3 RPM pick for the Mustangs to win that recruitment. He had offers like North Texas, Wyoming, Washington State. Former SMU defensive lineman Mike O'Gwinn was recruiting him at Sam Houston. And this is somebody that I think is under the radar. And us at On3, we gave him an 87 grade, which is a high 3-star. He's about 6'2"-ish, 6'3", 290. And he's coming off a season. Get this. He's a finalist for the Landry Award, which is the top North Texas player in the high school ranks. And he was able to be a finalist for that with Jackson Arnold from Denton Guyer, who's going to OU and a 5-star quarterback. Owen Allen, the highly productive Southlake running back. Jonte Cook out of DeSoto. There's another one in there that he's a finalist with. That's impressive. This season as a senior, 112 total tackles as a defensive lineman, made 27.5 tackles for loss, 5.5 sacks, added a fumble force and a fumble recovery. He has over 200 tackles over the last 2 years combined. SMU got on him once his senior season came out, and I really am impressed with what he brings to the table. Bolsters that defensive line class that already has Jordan Miller, and Elijah Roberts into the fold, both of them signing with SMU as transfers yesterday. So I think this class, you add in Braden Flowers along the defensive line, you add in Damian Wimberly, who I saw at the state championships, and all of a sudden you're adding that depth that they need on the defensive line. They'll continue to look for more. I'm not going to sit here and say they're done in the transfer portal, but there's still going to be more that enter. There's still going to be more that want to go take their talents elsewhere. This window runs until January 18th. And so SMU will be watching to see who enters then. That was the big pickup on the early signing period. And look, now SMU sits in the team recruiting rankings 4-on-3 as the number, I believe they're the number 3 class in the AAC on the on-3 consensus team recruiting rankings, number 4 for on-3. And I think they have a chance to move up. I was talking with a lot of our ranking staff over the course of the state championships and talking with others in the industry. And there are a lot of guys who signed with SMU who really look the part. So as these final rankings get, put together and finished up, it's going to be one to watch in terms of SMU moving up. And here's why. And I've noted this in some notes for our On the Pony Express subscribers. If you haven't jumped on board, it's $10 that gets you through the start of football season, next year in 2023. So $10 for roughly, 9 months of coverage. That's the new deal that's in place. So it's kind of dropped down from that $10 for a year. So don't miss out. Jump on board. We appreciate everybody. We have 40 new signups in the last 2 days. So thanks for joining and keep subscribing to the YouTube channel. We're just about to pass that 400 mark. As far as SMU's class that they held on to, this is a class that has a lot of players in it, in my opinion, that are underrated and could really emerge as top flight instant impact type of players. I went and saw Damian Wimberly play in the state championship against DeSoto. He's got a 6'10 wingspan. He's about 6'5", 270, 260 range, and tested off the charts a 4.4 shuttle. He's got that lateral agility that you want, displayed a really impressive spin move in his repertoire at times. And look, in high school, he was playing every down in the state championship. So I think he's one to circle, a high-end talent and upside prospect that could add to his recruiting ranking. Jamarian Carroll is somebody that we have as an 88 in the rankings. We're the highest on him out of any of the recruiting services right now. He's a top 100 wide receiver for us at on-3. I think he should be pushing up into that 75 range. I think he should be an 89, maybe even a on 300 4-star. His talent reminds me of Rashee Rice. He's a ball winner. He's got long arms. He's competitive. He was in a program that, he kind of carried that offense in a way this season at times. And I was just really impressed with him. I mean, he is kind of in the middle right now, according to the on-3 consensus. So let your voices be heard. ESPN has him as the number 173 overall receiver in the country. He's much better than that. And I think he will move up. I'm pushing for him. He's one of those guys that I'll stand on the table for in terms of SMU commitments. Another one I really like, and somebody who, one, you have Kevin Allen, who hasn't picked up a rating from any other service. So he's going to pick up some additional ones, and his rating will rise. But Sean Scott, before he jumped on board, was the lowest rated commitment of the on-3 consensus. And he's 6'7", 270, picked up some Power 5 offers this fall as a senior. I think as he develops, he's going to be in terrific shape to really contribute at a high level. And then another one, Brandon Maiazono, really physical linebacker. SMU has kind of signed some tweeners that have grown into linebackers. We've seen Jimmy Phillips do it. And we've also seen some others not work out as well, older JUCO guys who are undersized. Think back to Brian Holloway, for example. This is somebody that is physically ready to go, and SMU hasn't signed a thumper like him. And Alex Kilgore, really impressive athlete. Those two linebackers, long-term for Scott Simons in this room, are really impressive, and both are, just off the charts good, in my opinion. with Brandon Maisono being much better than his rating. And then Alex Kilgore, he's the top rated overall prospect on the On3 consensus in this class. I think I would kind of take a little issue with that in a way with Damian Wimberly and Jamarian Carroll. But you have Alex Kilgore holding down that top spot in the consensus. He's got one of the better shuttles you'll find, 4.240 in that, or 4.2 shuttle, which is really impressive. I just think this is a prospect that deserves more, arguably a more productive and better athlete than Texas A&M commit Damian Sanford, who's on that same defense. So I'm not going to say SMU is going to end up with the top ranked AAC class, but there's a lot at work here as these final rankings get done, where I could see them moving up and finishing as the top rated class in the AAC. So kind of keep that in mind as you're looking at them. In terms of transfers, SMU had a huge start to it. We've talked a lot about it. 4 Miami transfers in edge Elijah Roberts, wide receiver Keyshawn Smith, running back Jalen Knighton, and defensive lineman Jordan Miller. Then you add Liberty linebacker Ahmad Walker into the fold. Cale Sanders from Fresno State at corner, Charles Woods from West Virginia at corner, and then Jonathan McGill from Stanford at safety. And then they also added Hiron White, the offensive lineman from Missouri. So SMU's transfer haul sitting pretty right now as the early signing period inches to a close. I did drop some notes at ontheponyexpress.com sharing that I don't think they're done. I think there could be some Christmas presents, so check in on that. And there are still some more that are added to the mix. And let's kind of run down what's next. Look, SMU has to address the tight end room. We talked about that before signing period began. Jake Roberts, the North Texas tight end, added an offer on Wednesday night from SMU. He's somebody that was really productive this past season for the Mean Green. They're going through a coaching change. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining, 6'5", 250. He'll bring some to the table that SMU doesn't have. He caught 28 passes for 394 yards and 3 scores last year. He kind of broke out in 2021. I think he'd be a perfect add to complement RJ Maryland. And I think it's going to be, something that if SMU presses here, they'll be tough to beat. He's a huge position of need. And I think they need to go all in on Jake Roberts. The tight end position is really thin for transfer targets in this cycle so far, just like it was last cycle. And that's why SMU didn't add any. They add Trip Reardon from Frisco Wakeland, and they add Lonnie Johnson from Fort Worth Timber Creek in terms of 2 tight ends that they brought in from the high school ranks. Tripp's got the size to kind of contribute early, but still talk about 2 freshmen that are going to have to adjust to college and that whole aspect of moving on from high school to college. So to bring in somebody like Jake Roberts would be huge. SMU is still looking to add corner and safety depth. One big offer that went out, Amir Renwick, a Baltimore native whose teammates with JUCO target Bishop Fitzgerald at Coffeyville Community College. Renwick, 6'5", 205, had 99 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 3.5 sacks, 2 interceptions on his 2022 season. Some big schools like Nebraska and Washington State are already in there, but Bishop Fitzgerald, quote tweeted, if you guys want to look at that and kind of read tea leaves, quote tweeted his offer and said, are we going to team up? So SMU is still right in the mix for Bishop Fitzgerald. They add those 2 to the safety room. That is just kind of remaking that room right before our very eyes. You'll have Brian Massey back. You'll have Brandon Crosley back. And the way Ahmad Moses looked, you'll have him back. You add in Jonathan McGill. They could land those 2 guys. That is night and day difference in terms of how that room looks. They also offered Liberty corner Chris McGegginson, who played for Scott Simons at Liberty. He's got Cincinnati, Miami of Ohio, Arkansas State, Old Dominions, and others in that mix. 6 foot, 190, 33 tackles, 2 for loss, and a forced fumble in 2022. So we'll see how that push goes over with Ahmad Walker, his teammate, being committed as well. And then Texas Tech transfer safety Kobe Minor, a Lake Dallas native, added an SMU offer. He's got Colorado, Indiana, Memphis, Louisiana Tech, and others. He has 3 years to play 2 seasons remaining. He added 12 tackles and 2 pass breakups in 12 games a year ago. And so SMU continuing to beat down the door of some of these transfer additions in the secondary. It's a big position of need for this staff that they've got to continue to address, and they're continuing to do that as well. So I think this transfer class is really going to be something that remakes this roster completely. And we've seen them add some talent already. I'm really expecting some big things in terms of how this one finishes out. There's a couple more that we already are considering as silent commits. So be on the lookout for that as well for whenever those guys decide to make those decisions public. One big loss on the early signing period was Keytron Jackson, the Arkansas wide receiver transfer, going to Baylor. This is a big loss for SMU. This is somebody that I put in an on-3 RPM pick for. It was a little shocking to see him go to Baylor. Baylor also losing Austin Novosad, their 2023 quarterback, commit to Oregon last minute. They don't really have a great offensive situation. Keytron Jackson, one of the big things that he really wanted to do was stay close to home. And I'm very surprised it wasn't SMU. He had given some strong indications that it was going to be the Mustangs. Instead, he goes to Baylor. Kind of a shocker there for the staff, quite honestly. But look, you already have Keyshawn Smith on board. You're bringing in a couple wide receivers in this recruiting class. They have some coming back. I think they're going to be patient in finding another Daquan Felton, the Norfolk State wide receiver who they had brought in for an official visit, went to Virginia Tech, probably because SMU thought Keytron Jackson was in the boat. Felton was somebody that I think really had some strong interest in the Mustangs. So for Keytron Jackson to move on, that was a big hit to the class, but still somebody that is going to stay close to home. I've heard, some things about his mom, maybe battling some health issues. So he'll be playing his rest of his college football in the Big 12. But look, this transfer class for SMU is terrific. They've hit on pretty much every target they've really pressed for. We've seen them make some decisions like Joshua Eaton and Leon Bell, the Oklahoma transfer cornerback, and then the Kilgore College offensive lineman. They kind of pushed on with other prospects there. So, look, this is exactly what you wanted. You wanted to see them remake this roster, and they've done so at key positions. Now they can stay patient and add some others, and they're doing just that, extending a few offers. I bet they'll go for some others as well. So with that, going to wrap up this edition of the podcast, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. We'll check back next week with more for you guys. So hit that subscribe button, and we will catch you guys with another edition. Merry Christmas, and have a good one, everyone.